Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into an incredibly important and timely topic. That is microplastics. Our guest, Ramesh, has been working as a microplastic scientist for the past few years and has been doing some commendable work in this field. Many of us have heard about microplastics in the news, but we might not fully understand what they are and how they affect us. So let's explore these questions together and help everyone gain a clearer picture. Mr. Ramesh, I'm having few questions regarding microplastics to you, and I would love if you answer them. So, question number one: what exactly are microplastics, and how do they enter our bodies? Ramesh, could you explain what microplastics are and the common ways they end up inside us?
Yeah, it's a very good question, but microplastic is everywhere. Like before, what in my version, I would say that microplastics are the tiny particles less than 5 mm diameter in size, and usually these microplastics entering into our body either by inhalation or ingestion, or the third is the dermal contact. These are the three ways microplastics are entering into our body. So there are two primary sources of microplastic. The primary source is intentionally some of the industries and cosmetic products they are preparing, and those are the primary products. And secondary products, larger products like especially polythene covers, water bottles, they are degraded into a tiny, over the period of time they are leached out as small tiny particles. So those are also very dangerous to human health, but we are not giving that much importance to this. But we need to be awareness is good for this concept. I would say that all in all, I would say that microplastics are the tiny particles that are entering into our environment.
Okay, so thank you very much. You explained it very well that what exactly are the microplastics and how do they enter our bodies. So following with this answer, I have my second question. So the question number two is, in what everyday ways are we exposed to microplastic as human? Can you highlight some of the common sources of microplastics in our daily lives?
Oh, I already mentioned in earlier also, microplastic is everywhere. This is ubiquitous, especially what we breathe, the air. Because you know that when the car is moving on the road, the tires is made up of plastics. So due to the friction of the road and the tires, many small particles that are released into the air. So intentionally, no one can do that, but unintentionally or whatever it may be, we are consuming through the air. The first route, and the second one is food. What we ate, especially in seafood, has on top notch microplastics are there because we are dumped a lot of plastics into the oceans. So over the period of time, those larger ones are decay are leaked out into small tiny particles. Those things entering into the fish and the seafood, and finally we are consuming that food. And not only that, if you go for any supermarket, everything is covered with the plastics. So that in like when it is exposed to the light, the plastic is leaching into that containers or that food. That food we are consuming. Food also it's very dangerous. It's not very good nowadays. And finally, dermal contact. Some water already has water. What we are drinking or drinking water, bottled water, especially all the people love to drink bottled water. Bottled water has more microplastic than the tap water. So these are the ways of microplastics are entering into our bodies.
Thank you so much for the answer. So following this, my third question is that what are the potential health implications of microplastics in our system? Is it
Yeah.
something we should be concerned about? What kind of health risks do microplastics pose, and why should we be aware of them?
Yeah. It's a good question, but to be honest with you, many people are doing research on that, but there is no conclusive evidence so far. But I personally think that as a researcher, any foreign particle that entering into our body leads to some health issues over the period of time. Long-term effects are very dangerous. But even though right now we are not at any conclusion, these kind of plastics entering into our body leads to especially these kind of symptoms and leading to these kind of diseases. But many papers they suggest that if you over consume of these microplastics leads to like inflammation and diarrhea, and as well as cancer, respiratory disorders, Even cancer also leading is the one of the causes. Many people they suggest that. Obviously, as a researcher, I would say that any foreign particle entering into a body leads to some implications, but not at any conclusion. But some of the researchers they clearly point out every week we are consuming credit card worth of plastic we are consuming. That's very dangerous. And I don't know, but how we are consuming. And some of the researchers they clearly point out that 5 to 7 grams, like one tablespoon of plastic, is already accumulated in our brain. So some of the researchers they clearly stated, but still we want to be more evidence. So until unless that human mentality, until unless we are not seeing the final end result, they don't want stop. So that's the common mentality of the people.
Exactly. So science is pretty much based on the evidence only.
Correct.
So falling to the fourth question, that can you highlight some of the main sources of microplastics that we encounter daily? Could you share some of the everyday items or activities that contribute to microplastic pollution?
I would say that definitely seafood on top notch. Those who are consuming fish, other sea items, and those has more microplastic, followed by drinking water, especially bottled water. Those who are consuming bottled water, they are consuming more microplastics, and some people are very fascinated to eat microwave food. So majority of the containers are made up of plastics. They are keeping into the microwave and they eat with the fresh and very hot emmy food. They love to take that, but unfortunately they are consuming lot of microplastics because if you expose it to the light, that leaches to so many particles. Those we are consuming, so we should avoid that. And these mainly, I would say that seafood, tofu, and even many like all the things have microplastic. I would say that no doubt at all on that, but we should be try to be mitigate the level or low level risk exposure for this food, then it is okay. But I already mentioned it is ubiquitous. Yes, we don't have we don't have anything we do that, but whatever you want to be try to avoid, to try to be avoid that kind of food. That's I suggest that.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. As you clearly mentioned that we already know the sources, so we should be cautious about them because precaution is better than cure. And moving to the fifth question, what are the typical size ranges of microplastics and nanoplastics? And why do their size matters in terms of health risk? How do the sizes of these particles influence their impact on our health?
Yeah, that's a very good question. But earlier days we coined as microplastic. Now also we coined as nanoplastics. The size ranges is completely different. 5 mm diameter is we already called as microplastic. Less than 1 micron we called as nanoplastics. So nanoplastics are very dangerous than microplastic in my point of version because these nanoparticles are directly entering into our cells because the microplastic some levels maybe our body can be eliminated by the urine sweat other our system can be can work on that, but nanoplastics are very dangerous. They are entering into the cells mitochondria and they are reaches to the blood brain barrier, they're accumulated there also. That is a very worth concerning and dangerous effects. So we should be very keen to observe because those who are drinking water, especially nowadays, reverse osmosis is there. So the nanoplastics and microplastic completely removed. So you can choose that kind of options. So where we want to avoid micro and nanoplastics, try to be stick on that. Then it is good for health.
Yeah. So these were the questions that I want to ask. Thank you very much for your time and the knowledge that you gave to our viewers. Thank you. See you
Yeah.
today.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.